Alison Thewliss.
Thank you very much, Mr Walker, and thank you very much for fitting me into this debate. I have 171 signatories from Glasgow Central on this petition, and I'm glad to speak on behalf of them and of other constituents. Now, I'm, like other members, I'm a big fan of public displays of fireworks, and I have an ongoing dispute with my wee brother, who much prefers to use fireworks himself. He's a lot more confident in that than I am. But I'm slightly older than he is and remember all the 80s terrifying adverts on the television which basically thought that your hand would melt off if you touched a sparkler. But it is a serious issue in my constituency, and people in Pollokshields particularly have raised concerns about fireworks being thrown in the street. And last year the Glasgow South East Police reported that 5 under-18s were charged with possession of fireworks. And that puts those young people at risk of a criminal record. So this is a serious matter, Mr Walker. And I have had many constituents who've been in touch personally to say about the impact that fireworks have had on their daily lives. And I would like to highlight some of those and read some of those if I may. And Katie Took says that powerful fireworks are causing untold misery and danger to peaceful residents due to a minority of young people with no sense of safety or consideration. Siobhan McGurk lives in Kenmure Street and has found gangs of 10 to 20 boys running up and down the street at night, throwing fireworks at one another and at cars driving past. And that's incredibly dangerous, Mr Walker, not least because it is an area where there are tenement flats. It's a high-density area of housing, so if a firework was to go up close, then that could cause untold danger for all the residents in that close. And she's very concerned as well that fireworks are being used as weapons, as other members have reported. Other constituents who live in Pollokshields feel as though this is just another factor of the antisocial behaviour that already exists in some communities, that the boys who are causing trouble, harassing other people in Pollokshields Library are at this time of year then led to release fireworks and use those as well. As the member for Edinburgh East highlighted, this is a real danger for those young people and a danger for the community as well, because you can't tell, as the Honourable Member for Waveney said, often who let them off, where they came from, but they cause real fear and alarm to passers-by and to local residents. And Heather Alexander from Thorncliffe Gardens has concerns that other people have raised as well about the regulations just being out-and-out flouted, that the law is not being enforced here in any meaningful way. And there are issues, of course, of police numbers and trading standards and all those kinds of things. But if they are unenforceable regulations, Mr Walker, it makes them pretty meaningless indeed. And she mentions fireworks being set off in Queen's Park, youngsters, again, throwing them at fire service personnel. And she raises concerns also about, as other members have done, about private citizens being able to buy explosives at a time when the security level is often at severe. And it seems rather incongruous, Mr Walker, that we allow explosives to be sold over the counter to people with no kind of real concern as to who buys them, where they end up, and what they're going to do with them once they have them in their possession, because there's a real concern in Pollokshields that they are being passed on to younger members of the community in that area. It's not responsible adults who are using them, it's children who are using them, and at a range of ages as well. And one of the local councillors, John Molyneux, has been compiling some of the work on this, and Pollokshields Community Council, the police officer present, advised the meeting that on average during fireworks season, police were attending 20 to 30 call-outs per night. They apprehended children as young as 6 lighting fireworks in the street, and the officers were, as has been said, routinely targeted by fireworks being aimed at them, and older relatives of children were caught being complicit in concealing the identities of those children and young people involved to the police. So it's a very serious set of concerns here that children are being put into positions of danger by people who should know better, and that is not being enforced within the law either, Mr Walker. I'm conscious of time, so I don't want to go on for very much longer, but one of the things that hasn't been raised in this debate so far is the mess that fireworks leave behind for communities to clear up. And I see that right across my constituency, where you see the remnants of fireworks lying around for weeks on end after events. And I'm very lucky to have 2 large organised displays at different times of the year in my constituency. The one in George Square, which the tickets for which are gold dust, and the public event at Bonfire Night in Glasgow Green. And constituents who live near around Glasgow Green, where many people go and walk their dogs and enjoy the green at all times of the year, were very concerned this year to find that the green was absolutely littered with sparklers and debris long after bonfire night. And Dr Shields had contacted me to say that as the owner of 2 dogs and someone who works using risk assessment, it's currently in my view that it's completely unsafe for children, pets or any sports just now due to the many hundreds of used sparklers lying on the ground. And there is a cost, Mr Walker, to local government of clearing that up afterwards and of making the park safe for everybody to go to use afterwards. And that's not something that's really been considered very much, but when these things are sold, there seems to be very little consideration to where they end up afterwards. And I think that's perhaps something the government ought to take into consideration as well. If we're going to recycle things, if we're going to look at plastic waste, if we're going to look at all kinds of other types of waste, we should perhaps be considering what happens to fireworks afterwards as well and the impact that that has. So I would echo the comments of many colleagues too, that we need to look at this issue seriously. We need to review the legislation and the rules and the licensing of these items, because it seems very clear to me that the situation at the moment is just not adequate, and it's putting young people and all kinds of residents, as well as animals, at risk. Thank you very much.